let's move on to our fourth and final main topic today. And our fourth and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Andrew Murray, who writes, you probably won't have seen the news, but over here in the UK, news has reached of Cineworld cinemas reopening across England on July 10th. The website has a list of the new safety rules for that opening date. Wondered what you and the crew make of the news. All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, we have heard. Now, of course, this is why this is important to everybody. Cineworld is the biggest theater chain in the UK, but it's also the theater chain that owns Regal, the number 2 theater chain in America. And they have come out and said that Cineworld and Regal are going to be fully open by July 10th. This comes to us from the folks over at CNN, who writes, Cineworld Group, the owner of Regal Cinemas, will begin reopening movie theaters next week following a 3-month shutdown due to the coronavirus pandemic. The company said in a statement Tuesday that it was planning to open all of its theaters by July 10th, with screenings of Mulan, Wonder Woman 84, and director Christopher Nolan's new film Tenet on the upcoming slate. And of course, Wonder Woman just got pushed back a little bit further. So that's where we're at right now. They're saying it's official. We are going to be open. We're going to start our opening process in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to have all of our theaters open by July 10th with the new safety procedures. Now, what we're seeing as far as the safety procedures go seems pretty standard across the boards. All employees, staff will have masks and gloves and have certain cleaning procedures. All the theaters will be completely disinfected at the beginning of each day. There's going to be cleaning processes done in between every screening. They're going to have limited seating capacity. Hand sanitizer is going to be available all over the place. Blah, blah, blah. So there's all these safety procedures they're putting in place for this to happen. They're going to be open by the 10th. Now, this is interesting because it kind of goes back to that notion we were talking about before of the fact that, Tenet needed movie theaters to be open more than just a week before Tenet opened. They needed people to be able to get back into the habit of going to the movies again. And 1 week wasn't going to be enough. And I'm sure Warner Brothers has been in constant communication with AMC, with Regal, with Cineworld, and all their partners around the world. And they determined that, yep, okay, 1 week isn't enough. But if you can be open by July 10th, even though we don't want to open on July 31st, Chris wants us to stay in July. We think 31st can work, and therefore there you have it. So now this is pretty much every major chain has now pretty much officially announced they're going to be open by the middle of July. They're all going to be open there. This brings up an interesting conundrum that our entire society and culture has been facing recently, of course, is how do we deal with movie going and things like that with a pandemic going on, especially in the United States, where we've been seeing in the United States recently new spikes in certain areas of the country. Whereas a lot of other countries have pretty much dealt with the problem. In the United States, in some areas, it's just getting worse. To me, and I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers when I say this, and I don't say this with the intention of ruffling feathers, believe me, so please take this as just me giving my thought and my opinion on this, okay? So, you've heard me say the last couple of days, the issue is not about waiting for coronavirus to go away. It's about us learning how to adapt our behavior to deal with it while it's out there, right? The coronavirus isn't gone. But we can adapt our behavior to deal with it while it's out there. And when you've got all these countries that have seen their coronavirus stuff drop like a rock in the river, I mean, it's great. It's awesome seeing how a lot of these countries, especially when you look at like a country like Italy, how massively hard hit it was and how they have now coped with it and dealt with it. They did a lot of hardcore things. They got it under control. You see a lot of other places around the world. New Zealand's a great example, under control. What happened in those cultures was every one of its citizens took very seriously the responsibility of let's adapt our behavior to make sure we deal with this. Ann and I were out in downtown. We were in San Diego last weekend celebrating our 10th anniversary. And it was a little worrisome for us. Like, we went to one restaurant. Let me back up. We showed up at our hotel and it was great. They had big, massive social distancing. They had hand sanitizers right at the door. They required you be wearing a mask when you enter the hotel. The rooms, there was no two people had rooms close to each other. They completely cleaned the rooms. They had all these procedures in place that made my wife and I feel very safe. And we felt, yeah, they're conducting themselves in such a way that it's not impossible that we could get the coronavirus, but they've really limited the risk. And then we as individuals, my wife and I, we choose to take steps to minimize the risk of everything that we do, of us either getting the disease or spreading the disease. Heaven forbid that I am an asymptomatic carrier of COVID. A lot of people have it and don't even know they have it. Heaven forbid. So when I go out, yeah, you're damn right. You make fun of it all you want. But I take my responsibility as a person to my fellow human beings very seriously. And so when I go out and walk the dogs, I go out for like a 3-mile walk at night or whatever, I put on the mask because heaven forbid that I'm a carrier. And I want to make sure if I cross anybody on the street or whatever, that I don't inadvertently pass something on to them. And they've already shown that if we act responsibly and do the right things, we really do minimize the risk. We don't eliminate it, but we minimize it if we just do the little things to be smart. I believe, getting back to this whole Regal opening up thing, and you guys have heard me say this on this show in the past couple of weeks, I really believe that if people act responsibly, and if these theaters really do put these safety measures in place, I personally feel a lot safer going into a movie theater than I do a restaurant. You know, Ann and I went into a restaurant in San Diego, and it was great. Same thing, hand sanitizers at the door. They did a temperature check of everybody who came in. They required you wearing a mask when you first enter in, and then they had all the tables separated quite a bit. We were not within 7 or 8 feet of anybody else sitting at any other table. And we felt pretty comfortable there. And I'm just saying, if theaters really do follow through that with their procedures, I'm going to feel more comfortable there than I am in a restaurant, or that I am at a bar, or I am walking around in a grocery store. I'm going to feel much more comfortable. Again, it doesn't eliminate anything, but it does minimize things. And I think we can do that. The problem is we live in a society and a culture right now, particularly here in the US, where a lot of people do not take their responsibility to others very seriously. Screw it. It's my freedom. What are you talking about your freedom? You're wearing a mask. This has nothing to do with your freedom. Shut up. Anyway, I said I wasn't trying to ruffle any feathers. I'm going to try not to ruffle any feathers. But anyway, I just think if people act responsibly, we can get through this and get through it well. And the problem is we've been seeing all these spikes because we see, you know, places opening up and everybody thinks, oh, so the danger's behind us now. Oh, everything's fine now. Now we can just, pandemic's over, everybody. No, it's not. But we can deal with it if we're all personally responsible and if businesses do the right things. And we're seeing reports in the news about restaurants opening and they're not following safety procedures and they're packing every table, even with people sitting close to each other. And then we wonder, oh my gosh, why are all the cases spiking in all these different states? Gosh, I wonder. I think this can work. I really do. If businesses and if individuals take responsibility and act appropriately, I think we can do this. But that's just my thoughts. And believe me, I am no doctor, but I've been reading a lot of sites, like whether it's the Health Clinic Mayo, I've been reading the CDC reports, I've been all that kind of stuff. And it just seems like we can manage this because other countries are showing that they can. And if they can do it, you're damn right we can do it. So anyway, that's my thought on that. I'm sure and listen, my opinion may change in 2 weeks. Seriously, my opinion may change in 2 weeks, but that's how I think about it right now. Question is, guys, what do you think about Regal now being the latest with Cineworld being the major theater chains announcing that they're going to be fully open by July the 10th? What do you think about that? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys.